Who the hell are you and why are you cooking in my kitchen? That's what exploded out of me the second I stepped into my own cabin 3 days ahead of schedule and found a total stranger boiling pasta like she owned the place. Pots on the stove clothes slung across my bed. She looked up wide-eyed and said, "Barbara from the HOA said it's okay." Quick reality check. Imagine that's your house. Seriously, where are you listening from? Drop it below. And imagine walking in on this. Rage doesn't even cover it. What would you do? Because what came next was bedlam. See, I work in security. I notice things most folks miss, tiny details that scream something's off. That day the sunlight was blazing, but my porch light was on like a warning. I never ever leave that light on, not even by accident. My gut twisted as I slid the key in the lock. The knob turned way too smooth. This door should have been stiff after days of being shut. I eased it open and got walloped with a wave of garlic and simmering tomatoes. Not exactly the welcome home I ever wanted. Inside, it wasn't just someone cooking. It was someone living my table, but her purse and a lipstick-stained mug, her shoes by the door, my couch draped with some weird throw blanket, clothes drying from the ceiling fan, and then humming soft and sunny like it was just any other day for her. My pulse hammered. For a split second, I thought maybe I'd walked into the wrong house until I caught sight of my family photo on the wall. I crept toward the kitchen, and there she was, a woman in her 50s, short brown hair, floral apron, looking like she'd stepped out of some 80s recipe book. She froze, spoon clattering. All the color drained from her face. "Oh my God," she whispered. You're not supposed to be here." I forced my voice steady. "What exactly are you doing in my house?" She white-knuckled the counter, eyes darting. Silence stretched thin. Then out it all tumbled. Barbara said, "You'd be gone 2 weeks. She told me it was safer to stay here than where I was before." The HOA president. Barbara. That name dropped like a lead weight in my stomach. I glanced at my security panel. Dead. Not just disarmed. Powered off. I install these things for a living. They don't just shut off unless someone wants them dead. "Barbara let you in." My voice was low now, more threat than question. She nodded, a flicker of hope in her eyes, like maybe this would all make sense if she just explained. "She has a key. She said it's a community safety thing. She even told me how to turn off the alarm." That's when it hit me. Barbara didn't just have a key, she had my codes. And here I was, the guy who lectures clients about never handing out access, getting blindsided in my own cabin. My jaw hurt from clenching. "Pack your things," I said. "You're leaving. Now." She started to cry and called Barbara on speaker, her voice shaking. "He's back. He's making me leave." Barbara's voice exploded out of that phone, loud enough for the neighbors. Furious. "Don't let him force you out until I get there." That made me laugh cold and mean. "Force you out, lady, this is my home." As she hovered near the stove, wringing her hands, I walked the house like a crime scene investigator. Drawers open, my spare blanket on the couch, some stranger's toothbrush by my sink. Every detail a fresh violation. Chloe, that was her name, kept stammering apologies, but I'd stopped listening. My mind was sprinting through every legal angle, every trap Barbara might have set. And that's when the car door slammed outside. The rhythm of high heels smacked the walkway fast, sharp, like she owned every square inch. Barbara herself, in a suit stiff as cardboard and hair so lacquered it reflected the porch light she'd probably left on. She didn't walk in, she invaded. The air in the room dropped 10 degrees. Her eyes locked on mine, not a flicker of doubt, just the calm of a queen entering her throne room. "Grant," she said ice cold, "you returned early, without notifying the HOA. Not a hello, not a how was your trip. Just accusation." "Excuse me," I said, "but this is my house. I don't need permission to come home." She slid a paper from her folder, waving it like a holy writ. Section 12.3. Homeowners absent more than 7 days must notify HOA for security purposes. I stared at the print. "Barbara, I bought this place. I didn't sign away my rights." Her smile was all knives. "Community living requires cooperation. You left the property vulnerable. I ensured it was safe." She flicked her gaze to Chloe as if showing off a charity case. "Safe. By moving someone in without my say-so." "She needed housing," Barbara said, chin up. "We have a duty to help residents in crisis." "She's not a resident. And duty doesn't mean breaking into my house. The tension in the room felt like a stretched cable, one wrong word and it'd snap. How'd you get in? I demanded. The HOA maintains emergency access. She recited it like a pledge. Emergency entry ensures property safety. You killed my alarm, I said. We have master access for your protection. That's when it hit me. This was never about safety. This was about control. You crossed a line, I said. She stepped closer, perfume slicing through the garlic haze. What I did was necessary. Chloe would have been homeless tonight. She's not my responsibility. This isn't charity, it's trespassing. You're overreacting, she said, cool as glass. It was temporary. Temporary. My laugh scraped like gravel. You bypassed my security, gave away my home, and you're saying I'm overreacting. Barbara's tone turned from fake calm to pure poison. Residents who fight the HOA often find life difficult. She let it hang. My spine straightened. Is that a threat? It's reality, she replied. You want harmony, play by the rules. Her rules, not the law. I could see the chessboard in her head. Every homeowner just another pawn. But I was done being a pawn. Get out, I said, steady as a drawn bowstring. She didn't move, so I repeated it. Finally, she turned to Chloe. Pack your things. Chloe skittered past, eyes wet, apology etched on her face. Barbara paused at the door silhouette, bleeding into the sunset. Fight me and you'll regret it. Then she was gone, heels cracking down the walk tires, spitting gravel. I stared at Chloe's half-cooked spaghetti steaming on my stove apron, draped like a white flag. My sanctuary poisoned by hands that didn't belong. But Barbara didn't know me. I'd spent 2 decades learning how to secure homes and spot threats. She'd just shown me hers. That night I started building my evidence log, security logs, timestamps, Chloe's admission, every detail etched sharp as bullets. If Barbara wanted war, she had one. The next morning an envelope screamed from my door, HOA violation, grass height. 2.5 inches, it said. I'd mowed 4 days ago. I peeled it off and laughed. That was just the opening shot. Next day, more notices. Grass, unauthorized cameras, my truck parked wrong, all suddenly illegal. The same cameras she'd hacked now against the rules, the fines stacked like poker chips. But I didn't fold. I documented everything, rulers, timestamps, photos. I wrote formal responses, attached proof, and CC'd every board member. Then I filed a complaint, unauthorized entry, unlawful disablement of security, retaliatory enforcement. The printer hummed and I dove into the HOA bylaws line by line. Emergency access, total fiction. Nowhere did it grant authority to enter a private home, and disabling my alarm, criminal trespass, plain and simple. Saturday morning I became a courier. Every board member got an envelope full of receipts, statements, bank transfers. The vice president, Derek, opened his door in a faded Broncos shirt, blinking. What's this? Proof Barbara's breaking the law while pretending to enforce it, I told him. By the time I hit Robert, the treasurer, his face had gone white. Unauthorized rentals. You've got dates, names, payments. Not saying, I replied. Proving. This needs to go to the board, Robert stammered. Heading home, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. You're making a mistake. Some fights aren't worth picking. Didn't need caller ID to know who it was. Barbara was scared. Good. I saved the voicemail as evidence. That night, my table was a war room. Names, dates, receipts all laid out. Then I started knocking on neighbors' doors. Mrs. Henderson down the street told me about her security check, which left her couch rearranged and cost her $100. Another neighbor had strangers in his house, half his liquor gone. Another found a $200 invoice for emergency occupancy. Barbara was running a side hustle, no consent, no oversight, just her a key and a master plan. I dug deeper. Called my security company. Does the HOA have override authority? The tech laughed. Not unless you give them your codes or a court orders it. Ever. Midnight. I was still building my case. Chloe's texts, bank transfers, Barbara's threats, Mrs. Henderson's statement. Everything stacked up. Then another voicemail from Barbara. Stop this now. You think you're winning, but you're about to burn down more than you know. I labeled it Exhibit 12. I demanded the last 2 years of HOA financials citing state law and attached my evidence summary. Printed more packets, hand-delivered them again. By the next day, Derek called. We need an emergency meeting. Barbara's blowing up my phone. I grinned, feeling the road under my tires. She wanted control. She was about to lose everything. Because I wasn't just coming for Barbara, I was coming for her whole rotten system. At the clubhouse that night, the air was thick with nerves and burnt coffee. Barbara strutted in with her legal counsel, her brother-in-law, not a lawyer, just a prop. She spun stories about community trust, but I let her talk. The more rope she fed herself, the better. When it was my turn, I spread the proof bank transfers, text logs, violation notices. Who authorized emergency access to private homes without owner consent, I asked. Silence. Then Chloe stood cheeks burning and said Barbara charged me $300 a week to stay in Grant's house. The room detonated. Gasps. Barbara spat, "You little liar." But Chloe stood her ground. I slid the bank records across the table, 2 months all to Barbara's personal account. That was the match. The board voted 3-1. Barbara suspended effective immediately. She slammed her way out, her brother-in-law stumbling after. "This isn't over," she shrieked, but the door shut like a jail cell. Outside, the air was cold and sharp. My phone buzzed. "You should have stayed silent." I looked up and saw a shadow slide away from the parking lot. She wasn't done, but neither was I. Later, pounding at my door, police lights flashing. Barbara claimed harassment, even fabricated a story about a weapon. I showed the cops my evidence, including the audio. Chloe backed me up, trembling. Barbara told me to lie. She paid my rent with his house. That was it. Barbara exploded, tried to grab the binder, but the officers stopped her cold. "Barbara Sanderson, you're under arrest for fraud, trespassing, and filing a false report." The cuffs went on neighbors' phones, lit up. The Queen's reign ended with a click of steel. 3 weeks later, peace settled over the street. No more fake fines, no more late-night drama. The story blew up online. Barbara's mugshot turned into memes. HOA Queen dethroned the works. The new board rewrote the rules, banned master keys, put every financial record in the open. Neighbors finally talked, sharing stories of Barbara's intimidation, fake fines, break-ins, secret surveillance. 2 years of fear swept away by the truth. One night, cleaning up, I found her master key in a jar. Just a scrap of metal, now powerless, a warning in glass. Karma, for once, wasn't silent, it was trending. Sometimes I sit on my porch, coffee and hand lakes shimmering, and remember how it started. One woman thought her title gave her the keys to everyone's life. But paperwork and power trips only go so far. Receipts and a backbone. Those win. If it happened to you, would you fight back or just walk away? I want to know. Drop your story below. Because in the end, crowns crack, keys rust, and tyrants fall. And a quiet morning on your own porch, that's what winning really is.